Greetings, everyone. Well, I have an interesting message to share with you today. A day or two ago, I had an interesting dream, and I have extraordinary dreams. This one was a little bit different. In the dream, I was in a grocery store, but the only thing they were selling there were apples. And these apples were the size of pumpkins. Some larger than others. I mean, they had, the small ones is probably the size of my head, and the other ones were just larger and larger, like big pumpkins. And I noticed that some of them were, they were kind of bruised. They didn't look so good. And other ones were really nice, ripe, juicy apples. And these were all grown by local farmers. So, I knew that it referred to the fruit of the Spirit, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I noticed the man at the store, when somebody would select their apple, he would take what looked like a long blade, like a sword, and actually insert it into that apple to lift it up so they could put it in their basket. It was just so heavy. So I noticed also that there were some strawberries that they hadn't really come to be fruitful yet. They hadn't blossomed, but they looked like they were going to be picked over, like people weren't quite ready for those yet. But here's what I wanted to share with you. In the revelation Bob got of this, the fruit of the Spirit, each fruit represents a spiritual fruit, and the apple represents peace. And Bob said that when you mature to the degree that we completely trust the Lord and live our lives, we enter into that place of resting in His peace. It's not our peace, but it's His peace. And he said, therefore, in extreme situations, we maintain our peace, and that peace passes all understanding. So when the Lord becomes our driving force, then we become the peacemakers. Okay, and there's some scriptures that go along with that. 2 Corinthians 10, 4 and 5, and also, in Isaiah 53, 5, it says that the Lord was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement for our peace was upon Him. And by His stripes we were healed. But think about that. The chastisement for our peace was upon Him. So just think about that. He took all of our oppression, our depression, all of our verbal abuse and punishment, mockery, shame, the curses, all of those things that we would endure. He took those things upon His body so that He bore our chastisement so that we would have peace. Okay, so, when you lose your peace, we're really giving that authority that we have, what the Lord gave us, we're giving over to the enemy. So think about that. Now, like I said, I noticed that the grocer, he used, it looked like a sword to lift that up. And I thought, well, that's the sword of the Spirit. We must use that word continuously, and that is going to raise up the standard for our peace. Now, the strawberries represent goodness, and that also represents healing. And Bob would say the goodness is a moral excellence. Goodness is a moral excellence, doing what is right and avoiding what is wrong. So, and he talks a lot more about that with our conscience and how we need to submit to the Lord. But I felt in that dream we had entered into the peace, and people were coming, even those who were bruised and wounded, they were coming to receive the peace of the Lord. But I felt there was a time coming when they would enter into the healing. The healing wasn't quite ready yet. Perhaps it is that the body wasn't ready to receive their healing. Okay, so I'm not real sure about that, but there were no blooms on the fruit, the strawberry, so it wasn't quite ready yet. But I feel we are moving into that place of peace and being the peacemakers. You know, our attitude when we're around somebody else and something happens, if you maintain that composure of peace, it's going to disarm what the enemy is doing, working through others. You can be the peacemaker, and that only comes by maturing in the things of the Spirit, okay? All right, children, till next time, be blessed.